And welcome back to another episode of Saturday Sit Down Shorts. I am T. Harris at When the Needle Drops.
And I'm QG, aka Nerdy Lil Bubba.
And again, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Sit Down Shorts. This is our second episode of Saturday Sit Down Shorts. Last month, we came to you with a breakdown, a short breakdown, or an abbreviated breakdown of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album. And QG, tell the folks about this episode.
All right, so this episode, we're going to focus on the Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers gave us so many sensual, soulful type jams, for decades.
Yeah.
And so we want to focus on their decade of hits from the 70s up until the 2000s.
That's right, man. So even before we get into that, man, today is February 1st. It is Black History Month. And let's not get it twisted. Just because there are 28, sometimes 29 days in February, we are celebrating Black history year round, because Black history is American history. Black history is 365 days and 366 days every 4 years. So that's the thing. Black history is year round, not just in February, y'all. So
that's right. And we're not waiting on anybody to tell us that we can celebrate Black history. We celebrate it anyway.
Exactly. We don't need a government to tell us when and where and how to celebrate our history. So I don't want to go off on that tangent. We could spend a whole episode on that just alone. But anyway, let's jump into some background on the Isley Brothers, man. So I'm going to give the people a little bit of info on the Isley Brothers. So I didn't realize, I knew that they kind of set up shop in New Jersey, but I didn't realize they were originally from Ohio. Yep. Man, when you talk about acts from Ohio, specifically from Cincinnati, man, it is so many funk, soul, R&B groups out of the natty, as my cousin calls it, who resides there. But yeah, it began as a trio. It was O'Kelly, Rudolph, and Ronald. Began in the 1950s. Actually began as a gospel group. And then there was a fourth brother, Vernon, who passed away as they were sort of getting their start in the industry. But then they made the transition over to R&B music. And just a couple things about them, man. They have the distinction of being the only musical act to hit the Billboard 100 in 6 consecutive decades. We're talking about the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And we're close to making that 7 consecutive decades. Of their 40 albums they've released, 13 of them have gone gold, platinum, or multi-platinum. They are Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, 1992 Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. I also learned they had their own record label, T-Neck, which was out of T-Neck, New Jersey, which they eventually relocated to once they kind of got their start. And they are notable for distributing the first recordings of Jimi Hendrix. So those of you who are rock and roll fans, those of you who are fans of Jimi Hendrix got his start as the guitarist for the Isley Brothers. So like I said, these guys' career started in the 1950s. You had songs like Shout and Twist and Shout, and then into the 70s, This Old Heart of Mine, which was released on Motown. And then, of course, It's Your Thing. But the Isley Brothers that we know them as today, as is on this T-shirt, didn't begin until 1973 with this album right here. I actually don't have it with me, but it's the 3+3 album, because that's when you had the 3 original members, O'Kelly, Rudolph, and Ron. They were joined by their brothers Marvin, Ernie, and then their brother-in-law Chris Jasper. And then from that point forward, it was on, man. Those guys skyrocketed into superstardom once they added those 3 to the group. So they sort of blew up once they became the Isley Six, so to speak.
Yep. And T-Neck, their record label, was started in 1964. So they were one of the first outside of Motown black acts to have their own label.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, was T-Neck distributed? Were they distributed by Atlantic?
See, that part I didn't really do a whole lot of research, but I do know that initially they were distributed by at one time they were distributed by, I think, Cameo Parkway, which was a label out of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Then they got distribution with Buddha Records.
I know about Buddha. Yeah,
in the late 60s, early 70s. Then by the time they did either the 3+3 album or the Heat Is On album, which we'll talk about a little later, they had distribution, I believe, with CBS.
Yeah.
And they had distribution with CBS for a while until the mid 80s when they ended up getting distributed by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And then after that, their final distribution was with the what was then known as the Polygram Label Group, or PLG.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that also. So listen, man, anytime I ask you to come up with some questions, you always throw some hard ones out there. So I'm gonna start with the questions. So the first question we had is I actually came up with this one. So why do we choose the Isley Brothers? Why do you think, Q, that they are the epitome of the sound of sensual soul?
I mean, as we'll go into the show, I mean, look at all the songs that they crafted over the decades that, is romantic. It will put you in the mood.
Right.
I mean, they are the ones that have perfected it to a T. And not only that, but the sound is crafted to those decades.
Mm-hmm.
So they never stuck to like a same type formula. Like the 70s love songs sound like something that would be in the 70s. Same thing with the 80s, same thing with the 90s, same thing with the early 2000s. And a lot of that has to do with their production prowess, as well as being willing to work with other producers as time went on.
Absolutely, man. They were not afraid to evolve as times shifted. So this is the quote I found, man. Bob Palmer, who writes for the Rolling Stone, said that the one thing that separated the Isleys from their peers was their balladry. Basically, like nobody did slow jams and ballads like the Isley Brothers. That's the one thing that separated them from their peers especially during the mid to late 70s. And then, of course, he gave Ron Isley a shout out and said his interpretive skills when he's singing sort of bring that home. All right.
Yep.
Next question, man. What era, 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s of the Isley Brothers slow jams is the best?
Well, I had a hard time. Trying to figure this one out, but I'm going with the 70s only because by the 80s, they weren't cranking out as many hits. Like after In Between the Sheets, things kind of fell off slightly. But the 70s was definitely like the early 70s up until about 1983. That was their time period for cranking out some of the hottest ballads and slow jams. So yeah, I'm going with the 70s.
And that me too, because that was the era when we were deciding which songs we wanted to focus on, that we had a hard time, y'all, narrowing down which two we wanted to focus on. Like that was extremely difficult because, like you said, man, they had a run there for about 10 years where they were just pumping out just great like slow jams and Quiet Storm classics. Next question: which Isley Brothers slow jam is the ultimate baby maker?
For me, I'm gonna go.
See, that's the thing, man. You ask these questions and you have to think about them after you ask them, after you put it out there.
I gotta do better. It's a couple. One of them is Let Me Down Easy.
Okay.
That's a good one. And then Let's Lay Together, but we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah. My two are let me see. Look on the back of the album. At Your Best, You Are Love. That's a jam right there. That's from the Harvest for the World album. At Your Best, You Are Love. And then my other one is Voyage to Atlantis. Like, I mean, that guitar riff right at the beginning of the song, dude. I'm telling you, man. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's when when people had the house parties, you just cut the lights off.
Yes, sir. Back when all the slow grooves were on the B side of the album.
Yep.
All right, next question, man. What Isley Brothers slow jam sparks your romantic mood?
I'm gonna go with let's see which one, because there's so many. I'll say Footsteps in the Dark.
Yeah. That's one of them ones right there, man. Yeah, I'm
that's quite a few, but that one,
yeah. I'm gonna go with that one. I also like Sensuality. We'll talk a little bit more about that one as well, man. But so many classic slow jams that they gave us, man. And it's crazy, like growing up in the 80s and 90s, like a lot of these songs that we're talking about weren't even like singles. These are album cuts but they were constantly in rotation on the Quiet Storm.
Yeah. That's what's crazy to me. Like, imagine if a lot of these songs were released as singles, like
Right.
it would be over.
Exactly. So
I
we're
do
gonna
have
move.
another song that could kind of set things off, and it's off the
Okay.
Mission to Please album. I'm
Okay.
trying to
What
see
you
if I can
got?
find it now. There's a song that came on before Slow is the Way. That's the name of the song.
Oh yeah, that's the last track on, man.
Yeah, Slow is the Way is one, and it's
Yeah.
another one. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
I
You
think
know,
it's right
slow.
before.
Yeah. Did you know "Slow as the Way" was produced by Keith Sweat?
Yeah, I saw that when I was doing a little bit of research.
Dude, we'll talk more about that when we later on this year when we get into our New Jack Swing episode. Somebody need to give Keith Sweat his flowers, man. Not for this, because that dude's pen something special, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he
Even though
wasn't
like a singer, he
necessarily.
can write.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't necessarily the best vocalist in the world, but when it came to like writing, oh yeah,
Yes.
Keith put
He
it
got a
down on
pen.
the pen. Yeah, he had a
He
pen,
got a
man.
pen.
All right, so basically the format of the show, as Q stated when we did our introduction, is we're going to look at the Isley Brothers slow jams through the decades, and we're going to start in the 70s because this was sort of the era where they became known for the slow grooves. All right, so the 70s by far, when we were talking about going 70s to 2000s, the 70s was by far the most difficult decade to choose. So initially you said we're going to choose one, and I was like, nah, let's try to come up with two. And even coming up with two was difficult. And I didn't realize when we chose our two, they're from the same album.
And we actually ended up with three.
That's right. We ended up with the whole B-side of the Heat Is On album.
We ended up with three of them. So we'll go ahead and dive into those three.
Yeah, we ended up with the whole B-side of one album. So the first one, I'm gonna let you begin talking about this one, man, because you already know how I feel about this song, man. Like, this was when we did our 1970s episode. This was like one of my top 7 70s jams right here, and that's For the Love of You, man. Talk about it.
That was the first one that we both came up with.
Yeah.
When we came up with our list. I mean, come on, that's a classic. I mean, you put that on at a party, you know, everybody gonna try to get their two-step on. People gonna start scoping out who they want a two-step with. I don't care, you know. This was even back in, you know, college days.
Exactly.
You know, be at a party, you know, Russ House party, or used to be at the spot, and they would just randomly throw this on, and everybody trying to get their two-step.
Yes,
you know. And so it's just the easy groove, you know.
It's an easy groove, nice little mid-tempo.
Yeah. It's not even that slow, but it is, you know.
Yeah,
it's mid-tempo, nice mid-tempo stepping groove.
Yeah.
And so as you mentioned, this was off of their 1975 album, The Heat Is On. So yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a classic. You got to have this in your Isley Brothers staple.
Absolutely, man. If you putting together an Isley Brothers playlist, if I don't see this as one of the first 3 songs on there, then just throw your playlist away. So yeah, this is one of their probably most well-known songs, second single off that Heat Is On album. And the unique thing about The Heat Is On was the first 3 songs on the A side was all up-tempo stuff.
Yep.
And then the B side is all sensual slow jams, man.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, that's how they got you, man. We get you. We're gonna start the party, and then we're gonna send the kids in the back room. You remember those house parties back in the day, man. You go over your grandparents' house or your aunties and uncles, and then they got the records playing. But when it was time to play songs like For the Love of You, the kids had to leave the room.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this song, I mean, like I said, man, like, I mean, the lyrics, I don't want to go into too much detail about the lyrics, man, but I mean, this brother's telling you he is doing everything he can absolutely do for the love of you.
For the love of you.
Yeah.
He said he's living for the love of you.
I'm living for the love of you. I mean, this man say, like, love to be right in the ways of your love, enchanted with a touch. And it seems to me we can sail together in and out of mystery. Like, just the illusion. I mean, the innuendos. Like, we need to make a shirt that says "Bring back innuendos." That's what made the slow jams back then great. because they wasn't just talking to talk, man. You had to actually think about what they were saying.
Well, yeah, and I mean they were smooth with it, you know. They didn't necessarily have to be brash, you know. No. They was saying what they needed to say without saying it.
Exactly. It got the point across, man. But yeah, you can't go wrong with this, man. Two-step groove, super dope. One of my favorite songs ever, regardless of genre, regardless of decade, man. Anytime I put a playlist together, I'm gonna put this on there.
For sure. Right.
So we're gonna go to number 2 from the 1970s. And it's actually from the same album. It's the third song on side 2. Mm-hmm. And that is Make Me Say It Again, Girl.
Make me say. I hear the tune playing in my head.
That's right. Now. That's right.
You know, oof.
Yeah.
That song is it is a oof. It's so fire. And you know what I think is dope is I believe this was last year or maybe the year before. Ron Isley basically took that song, and Beyonce, you know, kind of took the song and incorporated, you know, mixed it in with her vocals, you know, kind of going like as a duet with the Isley Brothers. Some people didn't like it. I personally thought it was hot. I liked it.
I thought it was dope. It was because
it was seamless,
it,
you know.
Yeah.
It was seamless. It was like, wow, like if you just close your eyes, you can see Ron singing it right beside Beyonce in the same studio.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Actually, it came out in 2022. And it was actually, man, it hit number 1 on the adult R&B charts.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't do hot. I mean, but again, I don't really care about the Billboard Hot 100 because, as we've talked about in several episodes, just because it hit the Billboard Hot 100 don't mean it went platinum in our households, you know, growing up or even now.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, this song, believe it or not, was never released as a single from The Heat Is On. But again, it was one of those songs that was constantly in rotation on the Quiet Storm format on the radio station.
Oh yes. And that's the crazy thing about it is I don't know why they didn't release this as a single. I don't know. It's because they were focused on just the more up-tempo jams. I don't know. You know, I'm pretty sure if there was a Quiet Storm format when this song was released,
it most definitely would be. Man, I was looking at the lyrics, man. These dudes was like, this is some like poetic stuff. Oh, I believe you are a rainbow. You are the heaven I need to see. You are the promise everlasting. Where you are, I hope to be. It says, why am I worthy of love from an angel, princess imperial of my soul? Dude. They don't make songs like this anymore.
Nope, because it has a lot of talent and talented writers.
Yeah.
And they wrote it mostly themselves.
They did. Like, there was no, like, I'm looking at like some of the album credits on some of this stuff. Everything they did was written, produced, arranged, composed, all instrumentation by the group.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, this is a gem of a song right here. Again, can't go wrong with this. Definitely needs to be on your slow jams playlist as Valentine's Day is quickly approaching. If you're looking for songs to add to your Valentine's Day playlist, definitely consider every single one of these songs that we're going to discuss today.
You got to have it on there. If you don't have that on there, I gotta look at you sideways.
Yeah, I got to. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go to the 80s. This is the decade where you and I grew up, our early youth days. And this song's probably one of their more memorable, one of their most memorable, most famous songs. And it's from their 1983 album of the same title, Between the Sheets.
That's right. T-Nex CBS Records.
Yeah, man. That cover says it all.
That's right. You got the rose and the silk sheets.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. Let's go.
And that album was chock full of slow jams besides Between the Sheets.
Listen, like
there's another one on there.
Choosy Lover, first song on side A.
Yeah, Choosy Lover. It's another one. I think it's called Let's Make Love Tonight.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, Let's Make Love Tonight. I Need Your Body. Yeah.
I mean, that's funny. Another one you gotta have. If you don't have this on your slow jam playlist, if you don't even have it anywhere in your discography, household, whatever, just just say you are not a fan of Isley Brothers or smooth R&B. Like, you don't know what you're doing, because
You don't know
this
what you're
song
doing.
has to be on everybody's playlist.
Yeah. You know what's funny about this album, man? For all the sensual soul songs that are on this album, man, like some of the ones we named, then you got two songs on here that are completely out of place. You got Ballad for a Fallen Soldier and Slow Down Children.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to throw some PG rated stuff in there too, man. Not so much innuendos this time.
Right.
But on this song, it ain't really no innuendos on this song. It's like, it's straight to the point.
That's right.
It's straight to the point.
Girl, ain't no mystery. Dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yo, as far as I can see, he's telling you right now, I want to get you here.
Yeah. Lay next to me.
And for those who don't know, let's not get this twisted. This song came out before anything related to the late great Biggie Smalls.
Yes, it did. So for those of you who are,
because had it not been for this song,
there would be no Big Papa.
There would be no Big Papa.
There'd be no Big Papa.
Don't get it twisted. So some people think, oh, well, that Puff did that. No. This is the reason why Big Papa was able to come out. And don't get me wrong, not knocking it, because I wore the tape out twice.
That song, it was smooth, man. It was smooth, just like this joint right here. Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect instrumentation or sample for Biggie's flow.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, man, there's no innuendos in here. Like, hey girl, what's your fantasy? I'll take you to the ecstasy. I'll always be your freak. And then my favorite part,
mine be free.
Yeah, my favorite part of the song is when he says, I don't know who that is in the background, but he says, enough of the singing. Let's get down, and the beat switch up. Oh,
he's like, let's make love.
Yeah. That's dope right there, man.
It is, and that's just a testament again to how most R&B songs of that time period. Like I said, they weren't necessarily brash. They was telling you what they was telling you. If all you had to do was just listen closely, and it was there.
Yeah.
So that whole album, besides the two songs that we mentioned, the rest of the album, hot. It's dope. If you can find it, download it on iTunes, Spotify, whatever, and give it a listen. But it sounds even better on vinyl.
It does. It really does, man. So this is probably one of their most sampled songs. I mean, the Isley Brothers are, along with James Brown and some other acts, they're probably one of the most sampled groups in music history. So just some of the songs that sampled this, hip hop songs that sampled Between the Sheets, Tribe Called Quest, Bonita Applebum, the Hootie remix, the Brats Functified, like you said, Big Papa, Keith Murray's The Most Beautifulest Thing in This World. I know you remember this joint. This used to rock in the clubs. Nika by Lil Vicious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know you remember that. And then Ignorant-ish, Jay-Z did on the American Gangster album.
Yep, sure did.
It also, last thing on this album, interesting thing about this album, this was their last album that they recorded at 6. Because after that, they split off into They split off again to 3. So the original trio and then Jasper Isley came out with their own stuff. Yep.
And actually, if you ever get a chance, try to see if you can find on YouTube the DJ Screw version of In Between the Sheets.
Okay. I'll definitely check that out. Y'all check that out if y'all get an opportunity to. All right. So we're going to go to the 90s. Yes, sir. This right here. So a lot of people consider this album right here, A Mission to Please, sort of their comeback album, because like they didn't have the same success in the mid to late 80s into the early 90s as they had from 83 up until 73. So that 10-year span where they were just dropping album after album, hit after hit. So this album came out in 96. He sort of took on, Ron I sort of took on this Mr. Big persona, because we remember that from the R. Kelly Down Low video. Where he put hands on R. Kelly, left him out in the middle of the desert to fend for himself because he messing around with his old lady. And so then he became Mr. Big, dropped this dope album called Mission to Please, and the first single off that joint was this one right here. La da 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 da. This is the joint right here.
Ooh. Yes, so this was their in my opinion, this was their comeback album. Now they had an album or two in the late 80s. Because they had a song called Nothing But Smooth Sailing. I think that came out in 87 or 88. But this right here was their comeback album. Now, unfortunately, this would be their last album on T-Net Records because unfortunately he ran into a few, Ron ran into a few issues with a certain 3-letter agency that likes to take, and collect money.
Yeah.
And they made as a part of the settlement, they had to sign off, they had to shut down basically T-Neck.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people didn't realize this was still on T-Neck, but this is when they had a distribution deal with Island, PLG. This was the third song off the album.
Man, absolute gem, dude.
What's crazy is when I bought this CD, I wasn't even looking, like I wasn't thinking about Isley Brothers then. That was 96, freshman in college, just doing what I do. And I just so happened to be having to walk to Papa Jazz because Papa Jazz was a record store down the street from campus. And I just happened to be in there and I looked and it said Isley Brothers Mission to Please. And so I said, you know what? I just bought it, on a random whim.
Yeah.
And then when I heard Let's Lay Together, it was like, okay.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
and then as I listened to more and more of the album, I mean, this reminds me almost of In Between the Sheets for how many slow jams were on there. Like, I don't even recall there being any. I think there might be one or two kind of like mid-tempo.
Yeah, like I know they redid the Simply Red song, Holding Back the Years on here. But like you said, man, this is this album is all slow jams, mid-tempo ballads. Like, that's it.
I mean, Floating on Your Love, Whenever You're Ready, Let's Lay Together, Tears. Can I Have a Kiss was actually, that's the other one I couldn't think of. That can get some things started.
Yeah.
Mission to Please You, Holding Back the Years, Make Your Body Sing.
That's another one.
Let's Get Intimate. And Slow Is the Way. Now, what's also funny is this is I believe this was going to be the next to last album in which Angela Winbush would be producing songs for Ron because they were married at the time.
They were married. Yep.
And from what I saw on TV One Unsung, it sounded like as if she really didn't want to go, but there was some things going on again with that 3-letter agency that kind of brought a lot of stress and tension.
Yeah, I mean, she handled primarily most of the production on here. R. Kelly got the singles. Yeah, but like, I mean,
she was in the studio with Ron.
Yeah, she was in the studio. Like, and I think, matter of fact, I think she has writing credits on Let's Lay Together. Like, R. Kelly produced it, but I think she helped write it.
Yep, she does.
Right? Okay.
She does. I'm looking at it now. She does have writing credits on it.
Okay.
So she did a hell of a job.
Yeah, you ain't lying, man. This is a 90s slow jam staple right here, man. Like, this is like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. You can't talk 90s R&B and not talk Robert Kelly. I mean, understanding what he did was absolutely deplorable. I mean, we understand that. But as far as the music goes, that brother was putting out hits, and not just for himself, but he was putting out hits for other folks. And this is an example of that.
A lot of other people. As a matter of fact, I'll even dare go on to say that he's the reason why, or one of the reasons why, Ron kind of had a renaissance during that period, as you stated. He came back as Mr. Big. You know what I'm saying?
He reintroduced him to a whole new generation of folks.
Right,
like,
and it's how he did it.
Yeah, like we knew the Isley Brothers music. I didn't know the members. So that was, for me, that's when I started really getting into the Isley Brothers, man. Started to explore their catalog, so to speak. So it was this song, and then of course in the movie Love Jones, when they're in the record store and Darius is they're shopping for albums, and she's picking out, and she picks up the Isley Brothers album. I think she picked up 3+3. And then he was like, "Oh, so you gonna get the Isley?" He was like, "You can't go wrong with the Isleys." And every time I hear Isley Brothers song, I quote that now.
Fun fact: this song was also in the movie "Don't Be a Menace While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood."
Yes, it is.
It's off that soundtrack. So yeah, and I want to say maybe that's the first time I heard it, but I didn't really hear it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But yes, this is definitely. I still got the CD down in the basement to this day. I mean. Yeah,
this is a classic right here. All right, now we're gonna go to the 2000s, man. Our college years, and this one right here.
Well, your college year.
My college year, you had already graduated. So,
Yeah.
so this is 01 that this came out. This came out summer of 2001. And all I remember was this was on the radio constantly. You couldn't escape it. And not just that, but the music video.
Yes, I was about to say it was on the radio, music videos. I mean, I remember going to this barbershop in Greenville, and the owner's son was in there singing it. Now he probably been about 7, 8, so I had to kind of look at him sideways. But yeah, man, this song right here had me hyped.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I mean, dude, just the lyrics and the way he's singing it, like even if they didn't have a music video for it, you could see this happening. Like as he's like he said, as I get closer to the stairway, I hear my baby's voice singing, "You're contagious, touch me." Man, come on, man.
So yes, this is Contagious off the 2001 album Eternal. Came out July 2001 on DreamWorks Records. So yes, DreamWorks wasn't just a movie house or animation studio. They did have a recording arm once upon a time. And so this
they put out a lot of soul. They put out a lot of soul and R&B acts too, man.
They did.
Yeah.
And so this is when Ron and Ernie was leaning more heavily into the new kind of neo soul sound, but they were still working with Robert, because they worked with him on quite a few albums up until a certain point. But this one right here, dude, I was so hyped when this album came out. You hear me? I mean, summer 2001. I'm at work. I find out because it came out on Tuesday. Came out on Tuesday. I was at work. I was like, yes, sir. I'm going to get this when I go on my lunch break. I left work, ended up at Best Buy on Lawrence Road.
Which ain't there anymore.
I'm not surprised.
I'm
not surprised. But yeah, I copped that joint, took the wrapping off, and I just wanted to ride around and just listen to it the whole time. I had to go back to work. But when I left work, I cruised all the way from, at the time, from Malden all the way down Poinsett Highway and back to my crib on the east side of Greenville. So yes, I had sunroof open, everything. It was
this is the jam right here, man. Like Shantae Moore, you got R. Kelly on there. So like this was the third time that R. Kelly and Mr. Biggs had a run in. So the initial one was in the Down Low video. The second one was when Kelly Price in the Best Friend remix video. And then now Mr. Big Mr. Kelly done got bold and started messing with Mr. Big old lady.
Yeah, so he had to go ahead and take care of that. Yeah. And then they had another one on the next album.
The Busted joint.
Yeah, and it was the Showdown. Yo, I'm telling you, the Isley Brothers at that point, this is why they stayed relevant, because they always changed with their sound to fit the time period. And then you had a producer who, as we see, likes to produce videos like their movies. And I mean, they just played the character, well. So that's why this album was another banger. It was, it's hot,
It's
and
hot.
what I didn't realize was that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Raphael Sadiq, along with Angela Winbush, were some of the main producers on this album.
That's the one Isley Brothers album that I need to get and add to my collection. I don't have Eternal. I've listened to it. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I need to add that to my collection, man.
I need to see if I can find this one on vinyl too, along with the Mission Queens. The album actually went platinum, which is a good thing. And I'm proud to say I'm one of the ones that helped me go platinum. But on another thing, so there's a DJ out of Greenville. He actually DJ'd my probate. DJ Scientific.
Yes, sir.
On YouTube, he did a DJ his own mix of Contagious.
Dope. Okay. I'm pretty sure we can find that on the internet somewhere.
I
remember DJ Scientific.
He DJ'd my probate. And then after this album came out, one day I was listening to 107.3, and he was doing his mix, and he did a mix of Contagious, and this
dope. All right, so now we're gonna get into the bonus track, and it just so happens that the bonus track is from the same album that we chose our two previous songs from the 70s from. The Heat Is On. So this is
Yeah.
actually the second song on the Heat Is On side 2, because we chose For the Love of You and then Make Me Say It Again, Girl. And this song is Sensuality. Yeah. Every night I pray. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that is the reason why that particular album was why we chose that album basically for the 70s, because
Yeah.
it's all encapsulated right there.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Yeah. This is one of their, like I said, you have to really know the Isleys to know this song. But yeah, this is an absolute classic right here, man. I mean, here I lay so close to you, knowing that you'll see me through another night when we'll feel the joy that makes me smile more and more. Then, of course, he gets into the other stuff. But he also talks about every night he prays, every night he dreams. Like, yeah, this is one of those songs that the old folks would slow drag too back in the day.
They should, because it's definitely one of them songs that make you, grab somebody and come close. Come here.
Yeah. So yeah, the bonus track was hard because, like, I mean, I'm not gonna even we can talk a little bit about it before we move on, but there are some songs on here that we left off, like Footsteps in the Dark, Voyage to Atlantis. I think I said At Your Best, You Are Love.
Yep.
Golly, like, let me see, Let Me Down Easy. I mean, like, it's so many. I mean, Here We Go Again. That's another one. It's more up tempo, but it kind of got a nice little two-step groove to it too. But the Isley Brothers, to me, are like, when it comes to like our title says, the sound of sensual soul. They are the perfect representative of that.
Oh, definitely, with no doubt, hands down. And like I said, they stayed relevant because they did not get stale in their productions. They did change with the times, but they knew how to, without trying to, how can I put this, without being inauthentic. Because some people
exactly
will change the times, but you can kind of tell, like, no, this doesn't really fit you. They were able to fit.
They really were. Like I said, man, 7 consecutive decades of Billboard Top 100 hits, but not just that. The fact that they continue to chart even into 2022, I mean, just says something about, like you said, the fact that they were willing to adapt and change with the times and stay authentic, but also continue to put out good music.
For sure.
Yeah.
So can't go wrong with that list. So the songs that we have listed, if you put them on your Valentine's Day playlist, because I promise you will not be disappointed.
Yeah. And speaking of playlists, man, tell the folks about the next full episode of the Saturday Sit Down, which will debut on Saturday, February 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So if you can't tell already, this is the preview for our next show, which will be Slow Jams Part 2, Sensual Soul Music.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So last year when we were doing our show on IG Live, we had the first part of this, Slow Jams Part 1. It ended up becoming one of our more popular songs, ended up becoming one of the most subscribed to playlists. So again, as always, as we've done, that was actually the episode when we started doing playlists.
Correct.
So from that point forward, we did playlists for every episode, and this became one of our most viewed shows. So we decided to bring it back for February. We're going to give y'all a second dose of slow jams, provide you with the perfect soundtrack for your Valentine's Day weekend, but not just your Valentine's Day weekend, anytime you with your significant other.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go in. We're gonna give you our standard 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 songs. Who knows? You have to tune in and see. And we're gonna do a deep dive as to what those songs mean to us, how these songs get things started, if you will. So
absolutely,
make sure you tune in, because it's gonna be one that you do not want to miss. So that's going to be 6 p.m. on February 12th, YouTube live. And the title, Slow Jams Part 2, Sensual Soul Music. So get ready.
Let's do it. All right, man. So as always, before we end any episode, we'd like to tell you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell another friend to like, share, subscribe, and follow the Saturday Sit Down on YouTube and Instagram. As always, we thank you all for your support, and we look forward to seeing you on the full episode. So with that being said, we are signing off. I am T. Harris.
And I'm QG.
All right. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Again, happy Black History Month. And we'll see you on the next full episode of the Saturday Sit Down.
That's right. Peace.